In J.R.R. Tolkien's vast and intricate legendarium, few characters spark as much intrigue and debate as Tom Bombadil and Morgoth, also known as Melkor. These two figures stand in stark contrast to each other, yet both remain enigmatic in their own ways. Understanding the nature of their power, their place within the mythology of Middle-earth, and what they represent helps us explore the larger question of strength in Tolkien's universe. Tom Bombadil, who makes a brief but memorable appearance in The Fellowship of the Ring, is an anomaly in Middle-earth. He is portrayed as a carefree and whimsical figure, living in the old forest with his wife, Goldberry. Bombadil is seemingly unconcerned with the affairs of the world beyond his small domain, and yet his power is undeniable. When Frodo and his companions encounter him, they are struck by his unusual behavior, and perhaps more significantly, by the fact that the One Ring, the most powerful and corrupting artifact in Middle-earth, has absolutely no effect on him. When Frodo hands the ring to Bombadil, it doesn't turn him invisible as it does with others. Bombadil simply examines it with curiosity before returning it, as if it holds no more significance to him than a simple trinket. Bombadil's indifference to the ring raises profound questions about his true nature. In Middle-earth, even the mightiest beings, whether they be elves, men, or Maiar like Sauron, are susceptible to the ring's allure. Yet, Bombadil is completely unaffected. This has led to many theories about who or what Tom Bombadil might be. Some suggest that he could be a Maiar, one of the lesser Ainur, like Gandalf, Sauron, and the Balrogs. Others believe that he might be a personification of the natural world, an embodiment of the earth or the spirit of Arda itself. However, Tolkien himself left the question deliberately unanswered, stating in a letter that Bombadil represents something beyond the scope of the usual powers that govern Middle-earth. He is a mystery that even the wise, such as Elrond and Gandalf, do not fully comprehend. One of the most remarkable aspects of Tom Bombadil is his seeming isolation from the larger struggles of Middle-earth. He is a figure who exists outside the great conflicts of the world, uninterested in the affairs of kingdoms or the rise and fall of evil empires. While the free peoples of Middle-earth struggle against the forces of Sauron, Bombadil is content to tend to his small realm, singing songs and enjoying the beauty of the natural world. This detachment raises an important question. Does Bombadil's lack of involvement in the broader conflict signify weakness, or is it a kind of strength that allows him to exist beyond the corrupting influences of power? On the other end of the spectrum stands Morgoth, the original Dark Lord, and one of the most powerful beings ever to exist in Tolkien's mythology. Morgoth was originally known as Melkor, the mightiest of the Ainur, created by Eru Ilúvatar before the shaping of the world. His power was immense, surpassing that of all his peers, including Manwë, who would later become the chief of the Valar. However, from the very beginning, Melkor's desire for power and control set him apart from the other Valar. During the music of the Ainur, the great symphony that shaped the universe, Melkor introduced discord, attempting to bend the themes to his own will. This act of rebellion against the divine order marked the beginning of his fall. As Melkor descended into evil, he became Morgoth, the dark enemy of the world. His ambition to dominate all of creation led to countless acts of destruction and corruption. Unlike Tom Bombadil, who remains a benign and joyful presence, Morgoth's strength is characterized by his desire to dominate, control, and corrupt. His power is not just physical, but spiritual, as he corrupts both beings and the very fabric of the world. Morgoth is responsible for the creation of many of the evils that plague Middle-earth, including the dragons, Balrogs, and the first orcs, who were twisted from the elves. His fortress of Angband, guarded by horrific creatures and legions of followers, became a symbol of his overwhelming power. However, Morgoth's power, immense as it was, came at a cost. Unlike Sauron, his lieutenant, Morgoth invested much of his strength into the world itself. Every act of corruption, every attempt to mar the beauty of Arda, diminished him. In the Silmarillion, it is stated that Morgoth's very essence became intertwined with the world he sought to dominate, and as he spread his malice, he lost some of the immense power he had once possessed. This gradual weakening of Morgoth is one of the key elements of his downfall. While at the height of his power, he was capable of reshaping the land and challenging the Valar themselves. By the time of the First Age, he had become more dependent on his physical form and less able to impose his will directly on the world. Morgoth's desire for control and his fall from grace stand in sharp contrast to Tom Bombadil's contentment with his small, peaceful realm. Morgoth sought to dominate everything, but in doing so, he diminished himself. Bombadil, by contrast, seeks to dominate nothing and remains untouched by the struggles that consume the rest of Middle-earth. This raises an interesting philosophical question about the nature of power in Tolkien's world. Is true power found in domination, as Morgoth believed, or in the ability to remain free from the corrupting influence of power, as Tom Bombadil seems to demonstrate? While Morgoth's power was vast, his fall from grace illustrates a key theme in Tolkien's work: the idea that power, when sought for selfish or evil ends, ultimately leads to self-destruction. Morgoth's strength was diminished by his own malice, and though he was once the greatest of the Valar, by the end of the First Age, he was a shadow of his former self, dependent on his servants and unable to challenge the Valar directly. In contrast, Tom Bombadil's power, though less flashy and destructive, remains undiminished because he has no desire to impose his will on others or to bend the world to his liking. Both Tom Bombadil and Morgoth represent different aspects of power in Tolkien's world, but their differences are stark. Morgoth, the rebel who sought to control all of creation, ultimately lost much of his strength as he poured his essence into his works of evil. Tom Bombadil, who remains content with his own corner of Middle-earth, represents a different kind of strength, one that is not diminished by ambition or the desire for control. These two characters offer a fascinating contrast, not just in terms of their power, but in their very approach to the world around them. In comparing the two, we begin to see that power in Middle-earth is not simply about strength or dominance. Rather, it is deeply tied to one's relationship with the world and the people around them. Morgoth's strength was rooted in his desire to dominate, but it ultimately led to his downfall. Tom Bombadil's power, on the other hand, lies in his contentment and his ability to remain untouched by the forces that seek to control others. Tom Bombadil is perhaps the most enigmatic and puzzling character in J.R.R. Tolkien's entire Middle-earth legendarium. His appearance in the Fellowship of the Ring is brief but unforgettable, and since his first introduction, readers and scholars alike have speculated about his origins, his powers, and his significance within the larger narrative of Middle-earth. While characters like Gandalf, Sauron, and Galadriel have clear connections to the wider mythos, Bombadil seems to exist outside the established hierarchy of beings and events, occupying a unique and almost otherworldly role. He does not participate in the grand battles against evil, nor does he seem interested in the rise and fall of kingdoms. Yet despite his apparent detachment, Bombadil possesses a power that is unlike anything else seen in Tolkien's world. When Frodo and the other hobbits first encounter Tom Bombadil in the Old Forest, they are in a perilous situation. Trapped by the malevolent will of Old Man Willow, the hobbits find themselves in a situation that could easily lead to their demise. Enter Tom Bombadil, with his bright, carefree singing and his eccentric demeanor, who effortlessly rescues them from the tree's clutches. This initial encounter immediately sets Bombadil apart from any other character in Middle-earth. Where others might have struggled against the forest's ancient powers or wielded some form of magic, Bombadil simply commands Old Man Willow to release the hobbits, and the tree obeys without question. The ease with which Bombadil deals with such a dangerous entity demonstrates his unique relationship with the natural world, one of total authority, though exercised without force or violence. As the hobbits accompany Bombadil to his house, they begin to see more of the curious world he inhabits. Bombadil's home is a place of peace and comfort, filled with songs and laughter. His wife Goldberry, described as the River Daughter, is equally mysterious, embodying the beauty and tranquility of nature. Together, they live a life seemingly untouched by the concerns and conflicts of the outside world. This serenity stands in stark contrast to the growing shadow of Sauron and the dangers faced by the rest of Middle-earth. Bombadil's home, nestled in the heart of the Old Forest, feels like a sanctuary, a timeless place where the troubles of the world cannot reach. Perhaps the most astonishing moment in Bombadil's story comes when Frodo, at the dinner table, offers him the One Ring. In Middle-earth, the One Ring is a source of incredible power and temptation. It corrupts even the strongest of wills and bends those who seek it to its dark purpose. Characters like Boromir, Saruman, and even Gollum are utterly consumed by the ring's influence. Even Gandalf and Galadriel, despite their wisdom and strength, express fear at the thought of wielding its power, knowing that it would corrupt them. And yet, when Bombadil holds the ring, he is completely unaffected. He examines it with the detached curiosity of someone inspecting an ordinary object. When he slips it on his finger, it does not make him invisible, as it does with everyone else. He hands it back to Frodo without a second thought, uninterested in its potential to grant dominion over others. This moment is one of the most profound mysteries surrounding Bombadil. The One Ring, which can corrupt even the mightiest of beings, has no effect on him whatsoever. This raises a host of questions about the nature of Bombadil's power and his relationship with the larger forces at work in Middle-earth. How is it that Bombadil, a seemingly humble figure who spends his days singing and wandering the woods, is immune to the greatest source of evil and corruption in the world? The answer is elusive, and Tolkien himself left Bombadil's true nature intentionally ambiguous. In a letter to a reader, Tolkien stated that Bombadil was meant to be a puzzle for those interested in delving into the deeper themes of his work. He exists outside the usual narrative framework, representing something more elemental and timeless. One possible explanation for Bombadil's immunity to the ring lies in his complete disinterest in power and control. Unlike characters such as Sauron or Saruman, who crave dominion over others, Bombadil has no desire for such things. He is content within his small realm, focused on living in harmony with the natural world. Power in the sense of domination or control holds no appeal for him, and because of this, the ring has no hold over him. His indifference to the ring's power could be seen as a reflection of a deeper truth, that true strength lies not in the ability to wield power, but in the ability to remain free from its corrupting influence. In this way, Bombadil represents an ideal that stands in stark contrast to the struggles for power that dominate much of Middle-earth's history. Bombadil's detachment from the affairs of Middle-earth is also significant. While characters like Gandalf, Aragorn, and Frodo are deeply involved in the struggle against Sauron, Bombadil shows no interest in the outcome of the War of the Ring. During the Council of Elrond, when the idea of entrusting the One Ring to Bombadil is proposed, Gandalf explains that Bombadil would not be a reliable guardian for it. Though he could keep the ring safe within his own domain, he would not care enough to protect it from those who might seek it out. In the grand scheme of Middle-earth's history, Bombadil is a bystander, untouched by the forces of good and evil that shape the world. This raises further questions about the nature of his power and his role in the larger narrative. Is Bombadil's detachment a sign of strength, suggesting that he exists beyond the reach of even the greatest evils? Or is it a kind of weakness, indicating that he lacks the will or the concern to engage with the struggles that define the lives of others? Many readers have speculated that Bombadil might be one of the Ainur, the divine beings who helped shape the world at the beginning of time. The Ainur are divided into two groups: the more powerful Valar, who rule over the world from the Undying Lands, and the lesser Maiar, who serve the Valar in various capacities. Characters like Gandalf, Sauron, and the Balrogs are all Maiar, and they possess great power in their own right. If Bombadil is a Maiar, he would rank among some of the most powerful beings in Middle-earth. However, unlike Gandalf or Sauron, Bombadil does not seem to have any interest in using his power for any larger purpose. His role, if he has one, is entirely self-contained. He is a protector of his small corner of the world, rather than a force for good or evil in the larger narrative. Another theory suggests that Bombadil might be a personification of the natural world itself, an embodiment of the earth, or the spirit of Arda. In this interpretation, Bombadil's power comes from his deep connection to the land and the forces of nature. He does not seek to dominate or control, because he is already in perfect harmony with the world around him. This would explain his ability to command Old Man Willow and his immunity to the ring's influence. As a being who represents nature, Bombadil is not subject to the same desires and ambitions that drive other characters in Middle-earth. He exists outside the cycle of power and corruption, content to live in harmony with the world he embodies. However, Tolkien himself never confirmed any of these theories, and it is likely that he intended Bombadil to remain a mystery. In a world where so much is governed by the struggle for power, Bombadil stands as a symbol of something else entirely. He represents a different kind of strength, one that is not tied to domination or control. His power is more subtle, rooted in his indifference to the desires that drive others. In many ways, Bombadil's immunity to the ring is the ultimate expression of his freedom. While others are bound by the need to protect or destroy the ring, Bombadil is free from its influence, existing in a state of peace and contentment that is unaffected by the conflicts raging around him. Ultimately, Tom Bombadil's role in Middle-earth is one of paradox. He is at once deeply connected to the world around him, yet entirely detached from the larger struggles that define it. His power is immense, yet he has no interest in wielding it for any grand purpose. His immunity to the ring marks him as a being of incredible strength, but his lack of concern for the fate of Middle-earth suggests that he exists on a plane entirely separate from the rest of the characters in Tolkien's story. Whether he is a Maya, a personification of nature, or something else entirely, Tom Bombadil remains one of the most intriguing and mysterious figures in all of Middle-earth, embodying a kind of strength that defies easy explanation. In exploring the nature of strength within J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth, we find ourselves confronted with complex themes that intertwine power, purpose, and the moral choices made by its inhabitants. The juxtaposition of Tom Bombadil and Morgoth serves as a focal point for these discussions, illuminating the multifaceted aspects of what it means to be strong in this richly woven narrative. Their differing approaches to power, one seeking dominion and control, the other embodying a serene detachment, lead us to a deeper understanding of how Tolkien views strength and weakness. Morgoth, once known as Melkor, represents a destructive and corrupting force that seeks to impose his will upon the world. As the most powerful of the Ainur, he possesses an array of formidable abilities, including the power to shape the land, create life, and command legions of dark creatures. His insatiable ambition drives him to pursue dominion over all creation, resulting in a cycle of destruction that ultimately weakens him. Morgoth's story is one of tragic downfall, a narrative arc that illustrates the peril of unbridled ambition and the quest for control. His might is both a source of terror and a cautionary tale about the consequences of absolute power. At the core of Morgoth's character is his profound need for domination, which directly contrasts with Bombadil's unyielding independence. While Morgoth thrives on chaos and corruption, seeking to bend others to his will, Bombadil remains unbothered by the temptations of power. His strength lies not in the ability to conquer or control, but in his profound understanding of his own limitations and desires. This contrast raises the philosophical question of whether true power is found in the ability to impose one's will or in the capacity to remain free from the shackles of ambition. The nature of Bombadil's power, as seen through his detachment from the greater conflicts of Middle-earth, embodies a unique strength that transcends the traditional understanding of power. While many characters in Tolkien's work are embroiled in struggles for supremacy, Bombadil exists in a state of contentment, untroubled by the machinations of evil. His power is not of a grand scale. It is quiet, humble, and deeply connected to the natural world. In a sense, Bombadil represents an elemental force, an embodiment of the earth itself. He stands as a guardian of his own realm, choosing to nurture and protect rather than to conquer. This philosophical divergence can also be seen in the characters that surround both Morgoth and Bombadil. Morgoth's followers, including Sauron, embody his ideals of power and domination, illustrating the toxic effects of his influence. Sauron, as Morgoth's lieutenant, adopts similar ambitions, seeking to control and corrupt Middle-earth through the One Ring. His own quest for dominion ultimately leads to his downfall, mirroring Morgoth's trajectory. The destructive consequences of their ambition highlight a critical theme in Tolkien's work: the cycle of power leading to corruption, decay, and eventual self-destruction. In stark contrast, the companions of Tom Bombadil, Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin, embody the resilience of the free peoples of Middle-earth. Unlike Morgoth's followers, who are motivated by fear and manipulation, Bombadil's companions choose to confront their challenges with courage and camaraderie. Their journey through the trials of Middle-earth showcases the strength found in friendship, loyalty, and the collective resistance against tyranny. Bombadil's relationship with his companions further emphasizes the idea that true strength is often found in selflessness and a deep connection to others, rather than in the pursuit of power over them. The varying paths taken by these characters illuminate the broader themes of free will, responsibility, and the moral choices made in the face of power. In a world rife with corruption and ambition, the decision to act for the greater good, often at great personal cost, stands in stark contrast to the quest for personal gain and domination. Bombadil's choice to live harmoniously with the world around him reflects a moral stance that prioritizes balance and care over conquest, while Morgoth's relentless pursuit of control leads to chaos and suffering. Ultimately, the struggle between Morgoth and Bombadil encapsulates a central tension within Tolkien's work: the nature of power and its effects on the human spirit. Morgoth's tragic narrative serves as a warning about the dangers of seeking power for its own sake, while Bombadil's presence offers a counterpoint, suggesting that true strength lies in the ability to remain true to oneself and to embrace the beauty of the world, free from the desires that can ensnare even the most powerful beings. As we consider the hypothetical confrontation between Tom Bombadil and Morgoth, the contrasting nature of their powers becomes increasingly evident. A battle between the two would not simply be a clash of strength, but a profound exploration of their ideologies. Morgoth, with his overwhelming force and dark ambition, seeks to dominate all that he encounters. He wields terror as a weapon, bending the world to his will through brute strength and manipulation. In stark contrast, Bombadil's power is gentle and nurturing. He does not engage in the battles for supremacy that define Morgoth's existence, instead choosing to foster joy and harmony in his own corner of Middle-earth. If we imagine a direct confrontation, the outcome would likely depend not just on physical prowess, but on the fundamental motivations driving each character. Morgoth's strength, though immense, is tainted by his need for control. His very essence is intertwined with the darkness he perpetuates, and his ambition ultimately becomes his greatest weakness. In a confrontation, Bombadil's serene detachment and unyielding spirit could serve as a powerful counterbalance to Morgoth's chaotic fury. While Morgoth may seek to crush Bombadil under the weight of his ambition, Bombadil's strength would lie in his refusal to be governed by fear or malice. In essence, Bombadil embodies an indomitable spirit that is untouched by the darkness that defines Morgoth. The latter's power, derived from fear and the desire to control, stands in stark contrast to Bombadil's gentle authority over nature. While Morgoth's ambitions lead him to engage in endless conflict, Bombadil's existence challenges the very premise of power itself. He lives outside the cycle of ambition and corruption, demonstrating that there is strength in living a life guided by joy and love for the natural world. This philosophical inquiry into the nature of strength allows us to arrive at a nuanced understanding of what it means to be powerful in Tolkien's world. It suggests that true strength is not solely determined by the ability to impose one's will on others, but also by the capacity to embrace the world in its entirety, free from the corrosive influence of ambition. As the narrative unfolds, the contrast between Morgoth and Bombadil ultimately serves as a lens through which we can examine our own understanding of power, responsibility, and the moral choices that define our lives. In conclusion, the story of Tom Bombadil and Morgoth encapsulates the complex interplay between power, purpose, and the choices that shape the destiny of Middle-earth. While Morgoth's path is one of destruction and self-destruction, Bombadil's journey invites us to consider the beauty of existence outside the realm of ambition and conflict. By embodying a different kind of strength, one rooted in harmony, joy, and an unwavering connection to the natural world, Tom Bombadil stands as a poignant reminder of the value of contentment and the profound strength that arises from living in harmony with oneself and the world around us. The ultimate question of who is stronger becomes less about physical prowess and more about the enduring nature of true strength, a lesson that resonates throughout Tolkien's mythos and continues to inspire readers across generations.